This is Shabbos Chav Gimel. Yesterday we were finishing up the daf and we're talking about Malachas Machshavas. We talked about someone who's going to be liable for payment whether or not he had intent based on whether or not the Chayiv Misa part of it was. So in other words, we talked about someone who destroyed an entire thing on Shabbos of hay, and if he had the intent to do it, so then obviously he's Chayiv Misa. If he did not have intent to do it, then he's not Chayiv Misa, and it's Pater Avol. Pater Avol meaning Pater Midraisa, Aser Midrabanan. But let's say he did intend to do it, and that was his Malachas Machshavas, and then he's Chayiv Misa. But he's not Chayiv to pay because he is Chayiv Misa, so therefore he's not Chayiv to pay. So if he does it unintentionally, he's not Chayiv to pay either. We learned it out as a group lesson and a group learning in those types of considerations according to that one Amora. Now, we're going to continue with Malachas Machshavas going forward here in this daf, and we'll learn more about whether if a person is only chayiv if he intends for a certain positive outcome to come out of what he's doing. The kasha al bar kapara. And we continue. It says, now the kasha bar kapara. Because havara, putting it to flame, limda al kol malachas ha-Torah. We learn all the malachas of Torah from havara. So kula tzarich, all of them is for a need. Every single malacha we know, the reason why you do a malacha is for the need. You have it for positive need for that, doing that malacha. And the hishaloi tzarich, but then when you're doing a havara, it's for not tzarich. You're not trying to get anything positive out of the flame. So how is that? So Amar Rabbi Yisrael says, "Ein yizbar Rabbi Yechanan." You can't learn out from Rabbi Yechanan. The Amar Havara limda al kol hamalachas Torah. You learn out the Havara of all malachas Torah because Rabbi Lazar says Havara limda al atzma. Havara learns by itself. It's something unique. You burn it because you want the charcoal. You burn it because you want the tip to be a little bit of a flame. You burn it because you want the smoke. Whatever it is, you learn Havara. It's by itself. And you can't then also associate it with everything else. So therefore, it's possible that if you're burning something just for the sake of burning it, that could still be considered a deraisa. V'les the Rabbi Lazar l'chayve al kol achas v'achas, but does Rabbi Lazar not hold that to make him liable for every single malacha that he violates? So Ashach, we find Tani B'Shem Rabbi Lazar, according to Rabbi Lazar, Heina. He learns it from the pasuk of Heina. Because the pasuk says, "Nefesh kitechta b'shkalka michol mitzvos Hashem." A person does something unintentionally for the mitzvah Hashem. Lo yisei asena v'asa me'achas meheina. That may not be done, and he will do from one of them. We say from the word heina. So heina, according to heina, lechayev al kol achas v'achas. So he learns from there. From that pasuk, he learns heina. You're chayev on every single one. So he doesn't need one thing to combine all of them to show the chayev in every single one. You can learn out each malacha separately, but you have that word heina, so therefore you chayev from every single one that he does. So nicha havara. So now he settled extinguishing chabura. Av shalayil tzarich, but what happens? A person does a wound, but he does not need the wound. He just likes to smack. He doesn't need the wound. The he shalayil tzarich, and now it's shalayil tzarich. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Bun Amar, that is Palgon, Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Yechanan. There's a machlokes in Rabbi Yechanan and Rabbi Lazar. Chad Amar shchita ikar v'chabura teledes. One says that it's actually shchita. It's actually slaughtering an animal, because now what you're doing is you're not doing it for the wound, true, but you're doing it because you want the animal to die. So that is the Amalacha, and Chibur is only the Tolda, and V'chorna Michalef. Another one says the opposite, and he says no, that actually the Chabura is the one first. So again, just like Chabura, you're just doing it for a slap. You don't need necessarily for a wound to come out. So too, if a person slices an animal, does not have intent, the animal died, just wants to slice an animal, that is still going to be considered the Malacha according to Belazar. If he's the one that actually holds it, that which is the Av, which is the Tolda. So heavier v'chiba beneficha achas. If one kindled and extinguished through a single act of blowing, so he blew. Either there's two ways of doing it. One is where one is dim and one is bright. You blow out the one that's bright, and the one that's dim gets the oxygen. And now it gets bigger. Or you have a flame here, and you blow the flame, and it jumps from one wick and it goes onto the other wick. So that also you extinguish one and you lit the other one. So then Chayiv Shtayim will be liable for both because you extinguished and you lit up in a single action. So now we're talking about that you could actually be Chayiv not only for every single malacha you do, but one action to create multiple malachas. Amar Rabbi Avdimi Achoy Rav Yosi, Rav Avdimi, the brother of Yosi. Hada Amar Nafach B'Kalem B'Chiburan Mishalem Nezek Shalom. That's how we know that you pay full damages when you blow and you could break kalim. So something that's very fragile, you blow it, you break it, that's considered a malacha because you did something constructive. Blowing is considered doing something constructive. So therefore on Shabbos, it's also considered a malacha on Shabbos. And if you did it during the week and you nezek, that we consider malacha for nezek, and you actually do something constructive to break it, and therefore you'll be liable. One who shovels coals underneath the pot on Shabbos, he's chayiv. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar b'shem Rab Lazar b'Rabbi Tzadok chayiv shtayim. Actually, chayiv too. Achas shechiba. That's Elyona. You actually, because you extinguished the top ones. The achas she'avir as sachatoina, and the bottom ones you actually now give oxygen to, and they started glowing. But if someone who just did that because he wanted to get warm, then you're putter. So like I'm going to say, what do you mean putter? Rabbi Yaakov bar Acha, Rabbi Yaakov says, Machoikis. So exactly command Amr Eini Chayiv al Achas. For the one who says you only chayiv one, for every one action you only can be chayiv one malacha. So what did he do? He moved the coals. Intention was to get warm, but his intention was not to flame them or to extinguish them. So before extinguish them, he's not chayiv, and he didn't have intent to raise any flame. He just wanted to get to them, and so therefore it's and you'll chayiv one so with one action. So his one action was not an intent to do something creative. Therefore, he's not chayiv. He's putter, but he's also obviously for Rabbanan. Baram commander Amr Shtayim, but the one who says Shtayim chayiv, then he's chayiv. Obviously, because he did at least one. His one action did two things. He may not have intended to get to glowing coals to get brighter, but he did intend to move away the coals that were getting extinguished, and at least one of those actions he's chayav for. The Ma Rabbi Yavu b'Shem Rabbi Yechanan. Rabbi Yavu says name Rabbi Yechanan less kan chayiv shnayim. In truth, really, those thing is being chayiv shnayim. Ella malin alav ki'ilu chayiv shnayim. Rather, we consider it as if he's chayiv shnayim for two malachas. Because we consider that he's trying to get two malachas. So it's as if he's chayiv two. But really, one ma'isa makes you only chayiv once. Rav Yudin says, Tamon einay roitza shavur ve'einay roitza shechbet. There he does not want to ignite, does not want to extinguish. But if he wants to burn and he also wants to extinguish, then you're chayiv everything that you want. So long as you have in mind to do something positive and a positive outcome comes through your intention, so that's fine. So if you have two positive intentions with one action, that can still make you chayiv. But if you only have one intention, then it's only one. And if you have no intention, then it could even make you that you're not chayiv either b'deraisa. Havir or Mavashil, if one kindled and cooked. Let's say one decided he's going to light a fire underneath a pot of stew. So he's kindling and he's cooking. What's his intention? His intention is to light the fire. His intention is not to cook. Now, even if he does want to cook, that's why he's lighting the fire, because he obviously doesn't just want to light a fire. He wants to get a fire underneath the pot to cook it. However, lighting the fire is not the intention to cook. Lighting the fire is only lighting the coals. Once it's to cook, that would be either placing a pot on a fire or stirring or do something else. So the actual action of cooking he's not doing, because the pot's there. He's not moving the pot there. He's not stirring the pot. He's not adding ingredients. So the malacha of actually cooking is not there. He's not doing the malacha of cooking. Maybe that's intent, but his intent only can be limited to what he's doing, and that is only lighting this fire underneath the pot. Okay, so the Gemara will say he's chayev. What's he chayev for? So let's see. Is Tani chayiv shtayim? One says Yechayiv two. The is Tani chayiv achas. One says Yechayiv one. Mandar chayiv shtayim. One says Yechayiv both. One for kindling and one for cooking. Because the bottom line is, if there's one action, he ended up accomplishing both. Umanda Amar achas. So Hadayi, which is it? Now there's the big question. Because if you're going to say that it's for cooking, so then number one is you're skipping over the actual intent that he had was to light the coals, even though his real goal was to cook. His actual intent of what he did was to light the coals. So you can say you can skip that. You're going to make him chayiv for cooking. And he didn't really do malacha cooking. The malacha he did was for lighting, not for cooking, and yet you're going to make him chayiv cooking. So the Gemara is trying to figure out exactly how far could we move this from intent and the malacha to actually be chayiv in something. So Rabbi Yehuda Omer Mishum Mavir for kindling, or Rabbi Yossi Omer Mishum Vashal for cooking. The kasha al Rabbi Yossi, the kasha Rabbi Yossi. Hamaver limda al kol malachas Torah, but we learned all the malachas Torah through Mavir. So ein chayiv mishum Mavir ela mishum Vashal. And you can say it's chayiv Mavir not because Vashal. So he's saying not only are we saying that the intent was because he ultimately wanted to cook, but he ultimately what he did was the actual malacha in the moment was actually just lighting this fire. That's what he did. It's saying even further. Before we learned that really all malachas are learned out of Mavir, that the point is to make a malachas machshavas. So Kal v'choymer here, where what he's basically trying to do is make this fire. So in a case where we focus so solely on exactly what needs to get done to be malacha on Shabbos with the Raisa is an action connected with an intent to do something. So you can't skip and say, and you're going to say that's mavashal. It's not possible. Because you have to say what he actually lit, and he actually intended to light the flammable object, the coal, or the sticks, or the gas, or whatever it was. That's what he intended to do, and that's what he actually did. And we learn all malachas machshavas from this. So you're going to say that's going to skip. So if you wanted to say it's a regular malacha, fine. But here, kal v'choymer, it's the one that you learn out all concepts of malachas machshavas and intent of malacha. So there's a big kasha of Rav Yossi. Obviously, if he's only chayiv on lighting the flame, because the maisa of cooking he didn't do. Zar sheshimesh b'migdash b'Shabbos. So now I'm going to try to apply the same thing to someone who is not a kohen and does the malacha and avoida, not the malacha, we should avoida in the base of Mikdash. Zar sheshimesh b'migdash b'Shabbos. A zar that goes into the Mikdash Shabbos is not non-kohen. Ubal mom sheshimesh b'tumah, or a kohen he's a balmum, or he's tamei. Rabbi Chia Veruva Amar Shtayim. Rabbi Chia the Great said two. Ubar Kapara Amar Achas. Rabbi Kapara says he's only liable for one thing. Masav Rakapara Rabbi Chia Ruba. Rabbi Kapara asked Rabbi Chia Ruba. Avodah Shekayin Mutter. The avodah for regular koyin is mutter. So this was done on Shabbos by someone who's either a koyin, who's a mum, or a non-koyin. So we say like this. So Zar Mechayiv less, so Zar should Mechayiv more than that. In other words, if a kohen did the malacha, there's no malacha because he's allowed to do it. He's allowed to do the avodah in the base of Mikdash. It's not considered malacha, so that's fine. A Zar is stepping in for the kohen. So is he going to be chayiv more? He's going to chayiv more than just doing something that as a non-kohen? No, he should also just be chayiv that he did something as a non-kohen. But as far as the malacha is concerned, we already punished him. We said he's a non-kohen. So that already punished him for doing malacha on Shabbos. So he should be liable also for malacha on Shabbos. He should be liable both for malacha on Shabbos and for impersonating the kohen. Because by impersonating the kohen, he already is getting patched, so to speak, for the malacha on Shabbos. Because we said you're getting a chayiv for stepping into the kohen. The kohen could do it, so it's not a malacha for the kohen. What you did wrong was you stepped into the footsteps of the kohen. That was wrong. But you did something that is mutter on Shabbos to a kohen. You just did something that's usher for a zar to do, which is the avodah, not the malacha. So it's chayiv for the avodah, not the malacha. So Moisev la v'hu mechayiv le. Bakapara would ask his questions, and Rabbi would answer him. V'harei kimitza, for instance, it's kimitza. Actually, nikmat until he did kimitza also lezelazet. Right, then it's also both a kohen and for non-kohen. Nikmitza, when he does kimitza for the mincha, so asur lazarim, so then it's asur for him. But it's mutter for kahanim. Amalei, Rabbi Chia would say to him, Shan Yehi, it's different, because it's said, V'chol zar lo yechel kadosh, that no outsider shall have the kodesh, because we have the pasuk teaching us and no outsider should have it. So, therefore, when they started doing it, you're right. to both of them it was usher, but and then afterwards, all of a sudden, to him it's usher, but the kohen it's mutter. However, we have the pasuk says he can't do it. So therefore, the pasuk is separating him from a kohen, and therefore, if the pasuk is separating him from a kohen, so when he started doing the malacha, he was the same status as a kohen. Neither of them were allowed to eat it, but he was the one not allowed to do the malacha. So therefore, he's doing the malacha. Later on, the kohen benefits from the avodah because the kohen is allowed to, because the pasuk says, and he's not allowed to. So therefore, we see that if the Torah is giving extra pasuk, Rabbi Chia learns out it must be two: one for the malachas Shabbos that he can't do, and for impersonating the kohen. Just by impersonating the kohen, it won't exempt him from the malachas of Shabbos. So it has to again. V'harei malika. What about malika? Ad shaloi malika asal zelzeh. Until malika is performed on the bird, right? It's asr for both the kohen and for the non-kohen. Shnei asr lazarim with terms of kohen. But one who did malika, once malika is performed, and the bird now is forbidden to the non-kohen and permitted to the kohanim. Thus, we see it's separate, and he's only getting punished for being a non-kohen. So Amalei says no. Because again, the same pasuk, v'chol zar lo yechol kadosh, because that's the situation also. Because you have to be a kohen, you have to be a proper kohen to eat it, and therefore you can't separate a kohen and non-kohen when doing the malacha. He's impersonating kohen, and he's doing the malacha, and he had no right to do the malacha. Harei tevel. What about tevel? Actually, in the sakin aser until it's fixed. In other words, it's taken with meiser lozel zet to both of them. But when it is sakin, when it has mice taken, oslo zar and mutter lakanim. Now it's truma. Now the kahanim can eat it. So therefore, now it's a situation where he's only impersonating kohen. He should be punished for that. So Malay says, no, it's different. The chol zar leichel kadesh. We all learn out of a pasuk. Really, there is no difference between them, but the pasuk makes a difference between them. Pasuk makes a difference between them. It's a difference from the beginning. So when he's doing the malacha, he's not a kohen, and he's doing the malacha. So when a kohen does it, it's an avodah on Shabbos. When a zar does it, it's a malacha. Amrina, they say l'chutz v'nilmad. Let's go out and learn. Nafku and v'shaman. They went out and learned. Rabbi Yisrael Mishnayim. Rabbi says there's two, and Rabbi Shimon Aimer Achas. Rabbi Shimon said he's all liable for one. And this Uman da Amar Achas, the one who said is one, Mishum Zaris, because it's a non-kohen doing the avodah. And that's all the intent was. His intent was not to be Malachas Shabbos Shabbos. He didn't have the intent to do Malachas Shabbos. He just had intent to personate a kohen. Uman Damar Shtayim, when it says Shtayim, Achshuzar is one because he's non-kohen, and Charayna Lama, what's the other one? Mishum Shchita, because of Shchita. V'harei Shchita, Bizar Kshera. But one second, Shchita is allowed to be done by a Zar. So therefore, a Zar is allowed to do Shchita in the Mikdash, and therefore in the Mikdash, he's allowed to do it on Shabbos. El Misham Hilchok Zrika v'Kabbalah. He's doing Zrika, accepting the blood and sprinkling the blood. One second, but Einay El Shvus, those are only rabbinic that a non-kohen can't do it. Really, maybe a non-kohen could do it according to the Raisa. So Havilei Taima Elo Misham Ichol Evar Mufradim. So therefore, the reason is because nothing other than the consumption of the limbs and the fats. So Shahayu Misachlin Al Gabi Mizbeach Kol Aylaila, because they were really supposed to be burnt on the fire on the entire night. Al daita the Rabbi Yudah do Amar Misham Mavrinicha. According to Rabbi Yudah, is for kindling. If it's for kindling, then it's understandable. Daita the Rabbi Yossi do Amar. But what about Rabbi Yossi, who says Mishum Vashel, that it's cooking? So in other words, it's really ultimately the end goal of what he's trying to do, not the actual thing that he does. Rabbi Yossi allows that skip, that we talked about before. So ma bishol yeshkan. What cooking is done over here? There's no cooking over here. Since he wanted to become consumed in the mizbeach, it's sort of like cooking, and that would be according to Rabbi Yossi.